Good morning. Denise Dryden here, doing my weekly informative videos, and I want to give you a little heads up that today we're talking about solar flares. This is one of my favorite topics. It sort of came in and surprised me a couple of months ago, and ever since then I've noticed that, I'm just sort of adjusting things still. I've noticed that they've caught my attention, they matter, and I'm learning information about it, so I thought I would pass that on. So I guess the bottom line is that when we're talking about solar flares in our bodies, I think it's time for us to get informed. It's time for us to sort of look at, there might be something out there I don't know because something's going on, right? So, I'm going to go through the list of some of the things that I'm talking about, which is, CMEs, which are coronal mass ejections from the sun. They're when these little bubbles, these little pieces of disturbances come up from the sun, and then they put out a solar flare. They put out a burst of rays, right? And these rays, these solar flares, can be measured in either a C class, an M class, or an X class. C being the most normal, M being like, oh wow, and X being like duck, right? These solar flares also affect the geomagnetic pulse of the Earth. So we call them geomagnetic disturbances, and they can be measured by the KP index or by the geomagnetic classifications. You can find this on spaceweather.com. A new resource that I came across was National Oceanic Atmosphere Administration, NOAA. For me, what I love to do is go on Facebook with Pam Younghens or Mary Long. They have just sort of decided that they're going to guide us through all of this, and they're going to take us through the day-to-day, hour by hour. This is what's going on. So they're explaining things to me, so I'm understanding, and now I'm building my own point of reference. So we're on this roller coaster of surges, and we have been since Friday last week. So we were about 2 days into it when I did the video last week. And so last weekend we had an M1 class CME, largest one that's hit in quite some time. 3 days ago, Thursday, we had 12 solar flares in 24 hours, and Friday we had 8 in 24 hours. So when there's a CME, it takes 72 hours, 3 days before it hits Earth. And when it hits Earth, what it does is it is a surge of energy that hits our bodies. It's invisible. We don't know what's coming. It's not like there's a nice little line that says here it comes. And we don't even know about it. Most who are not following these statistical, science-based, resources are not putting together that sometimes how we're feeling has an effect of what's going on with the sun and these flares that are happening. So what happens is we have a conditioned response to being afraid of the unknown. So when something unknown comes, like, I don't know why my body, I don't know why my body hurts. I don't know why my ears are ringing. I don't know, fill in the blank. Then we get into reaction. And this can cause fear and anger and worry. And, because we're attached to that fear, we sort of hunker in on it and we try to problem solve the fear as opposed to going bigger. So we've spent this, last year on these videos, you and I, playing week by week with how to deal with reaction. What are some of the known and unknown sources it can come through, and what happens to us? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add to that, from sensitivity, from empathic skill sets, from energetic readers and energetic reactivities. I'm going to put in galactic, right? Energy pulses that hit the Earth, because these are all pieces that matter right now to us. So, from the layman's terms, it could be like we have these electrical pulses, these energetic pulses that hit the Earth. Big whopping deal, right? And I'm going to stretch us and go a little bit further, which is they are also activations and upgrades. They are recalibrations to our DNA system. Something's happening in the cellular system, in the energetic system in our bodies that's creating something different, and it's showing up in us on physical levels. So now we have these physical consequences or physical reactions to something we don't know. So I went through the entire list this morning and put some down that you could sort of relate to. So ringing in the ears, headaches, migraines, pressure in the head, pressure in the sinuses, blurry eyes. It can be hard to read. It can be hard to focus. You might get a tingling or burning in your hands or feet. You might have a tingling that goes around your spine, down your back, or around your head, down the back of your spine, right? You could have a sudden occurrence of rashes or allergic reactions. Food you've always liked can taste different. You're gravitating towards something that's either more grounding or something that's lighter and plant-based. Worry, anxiety, tons of anger, tons of mood swings, right? Agitation, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm up, I'm down, right? Discomfort. We have body parts that can ache. It can go from a shoulder to a knee. We've talked about this over the last few weeks. It moves around. It's not static. Heart palpitations, where your heart goes boom, 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 boom for a few minutes and you're thinking, do I need to call 911? And then it's gone, right? And you're and what was that? Digestive issues, weight shifts. Some of us have gone like, just sort of bloated out and then gone back down to a size smaller in a week or two, back and forth and back and forth. So are you experiencing any of these? Question mark, right? And are you experiencing them in your children? Because you may not be aware of them, but you're watching especially your 10 and unders, they're sort of either really happy why this is going on and you feel like crap, or they are especially your teens and your young adults, they're impacted, their bodies hurt, they don't know what's going on, and they're crabbier than usual, and you may be crabbier than usual. So now's the time to build that awareness and get informed. Makes sense, right? So let's see, I want to make sure that I stay on task. I've got all these notes. Our physical reality is changing. That's the most important thing. When the physical starts to change, we observe these and we struggle to put them in context. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? I don't understand this. So we track and we observe the changes, and they're all over the place. So the most important thing we can do is discern, like, that's going on. I noticed this. This is something that's happening right now. And then apply it, right? And there's this triangle, and I forgot the card this morning. It's the 3 of discs in the thought deck, and it's just a triangle where the intellect and the emotions and the spiritual all work in tandem with the physical. So we use our intellect, we use our mind, we use our emotional, our energetic awareness, and we use our spiritual expansion to understand the physical. So our biggest thing here for our population on Earth at this time is to expand the spiritual and emotional knowledge bases, because those are being affected as well. So if we are in an activation stage or a DNA activation and recalibration, what it makes sense that we're going to feel an increase in energy, right? And we're going to be going through our own cellular changes. We're flushing out old programs. We're flushing out old conditions. We're flushing out old ways of thinking. We're burning away old constructs. So we're feeling it all over our body. This means we need a new set of tools and skills with those tools, right? So that we can respond, so that we can place our intentions on what we want to create, not what we're afraid of. So the more we worry about what we're afraid of, we forget that, hey, I just got brand new, it's kind of like when you get your toes done or you get your hair done and you're like, you feel really good. So how do you get out there with this positive upliftment of feeling and create something that you use your observation skills and your intellect and your emotional awareness and your spiritual awareness to create something positive for yourself? Like, hey, this is kind of cool. And if you look down at the diamonds, who are, especially these little diamond kids who are like 5 and under, what you'll notice is that they sort of think of this as like surfing, like, wow, that was a good one. I just sort of rode that one through. And they have some laughter with these energy switches or energy pulses that we aren't experiencing. So what can we learn from them? So I have tools for you. Of course, I always have tools, right? I only have 4 for today, and sometimes they get a little redundant, yet they are very specific. So first one, what am I noticing? What am I seeing? What am I feeling? What am I feeling within myself, with others, within the world? And then when you get that sort of information, like, I wonder if there's something going on with the solar flares. Trust it. Lean into it. Then, yeah, that's right, I am. And you kind of confirm that, like, I am feeling that. So you trust this. You trust what you see. You trust what you feel. You trust what you know. You trust what you notice. So the first thing is, what am I noticing and how do I trust that? Number two, it's really helpful to validate this, which is going to sites and looking it up. Go to the Schumann, go to spaceweather.com, get on Facebook and find out what Pam or Mary are saying. And you're like, yes, that's exactly what I'm feeling. Because it does help to have others that are validating invisible, unknown surges that change us. It's helpful. The other thing you can do is you can muscle test. And what I've noticed is that by validating, I can call a girlfriend or two, and I have these sort of tribe sisters all over the continent, all over the world, and I can text them or WhatsApp them and go like, what do you think's going on right now? And then all of a sudden, we're not thinking we're crazy. We're interacting with each other and we're saying, yeah, that's what I'm seeing. I'm also seeing this. Yeah, that's right. That is there. And we're building a construct together by validating it with each other. So number three, build your own resources. Go to none and stretch and go to unknown resources. Get outside the old ways you used to look things up. Start building that emotional and spiritual feeding where there's information coming into your system that you can start to expand, because this is going to stretch us. We're being stretched. Our cells are lighting up and we're being stretched. So how do we get outside of our normal resources and start to pull on other ones so that we don't feel out of the loop? And number four, how are these surges, how are these energy shifts affecting me? How are they affecting others? What do I do when I feel these? It's kind of like, go back to, what do you do when you're reactive? What do you do when there's an instance of fight, flight, or fear or freeze within you? You breathe, you observe, you respond, and you own it. And you use these tools. You breathe, you calm it down, you notice what's going on, and you get out of a panic, because we're leaving that stage of, if it's unknown, we're conditioned to feel fear when it's unknown. So we're leaving that behind us. So this is the kind of stuff I've been doing a lot more with my coaching. I'm talking about it through the indigo lens, through the crystal, rainbow, and diamond lenses. And if you want more information, you can find me on DeniseDryden.com. Would love to hear from you, and check, like, subscribe. Keep these coming, because this is an absolute blast. I'm having more fun now, 5 years after starting these, than I have in years. So take care. Bye-bye.